Hey everybody, I'm Mike Thompson. I built the CFI course here at the Epic Flight Academy, and with the help of many talented colleagues, together we have made it the go-to course for those looking to earn the FAA Flight Instructor Certificate. In addition to teaching this course, I wrote the book, Telling is Not Teaching, the Flight Instructor's Handbook. You can find it at Amazon.com. The book is built around the idea that effective flight instruction is based on a solid relationship between the instructor and the student. Now, if you think about it, effective teaching of any kind in any subject relies upon a good relationship between the teacher and the student. Telling is Not Teaching was designed to parallel the FAA's Aviation Instructor Handbook 8083-9A. In the Aviation Instructor Handbook 9A and in my book, the first 3 chapters discuss educational psychology, the next 3 discuss instructional design, and the final 3 chapters address the flight instructor profession and responsibilities in general. In later versions of the FAA's handbook, you may notice the chapter numbers change. However, the chapter content should remain essentially the same. Join me as I discuss each of the 9 chapters. I hope you find the book enlightening, and I sincerely hope it helps you develop as a teacher. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Chapter 3 in Telling is Not Teaching. One of the most talked about topics of all time has to be communication. I'll venture to guess that there has been more written, discussed, and studied about communication than any other subject. We spend a lot of time communicating about communicating. Now, I think this is because we all have a deep felt need to communicate. We want to communicate with each other. Reaching out and communicating is a core part of who we are as human beings. Now, when we talk about communication, let's narrow this topic down a little bit to communication in the teaching and learning relationship. Have you heard of the model of communication that shows the sender, the receiver, encoding, transmission, decoding the communication? Well, I think of this as doing communication. So how do I know that I've successfully had communication? In Chapter 3 of Telling is Not Teaching, I contrast this model of doing the process of communication to the idea of actually having communication with another person, in this case, our flight student. Together, we will examine how to have effective communication with our flight students. Now, we know that good communication took place when a flight student demonstrates their learning by changing their behavior. So for this to happen, trust must be present. And for this trust to develop, there must be a relationship between the teacher and the learner. Now, what might be one of the primary ways in which a teacher, a flight instructor, can build this relationship to foster this quality communication? The answer is listening. Simply listen. In Chapter 3 of Telling is Not Teaching, I'll explore with you the different levels of listening and how different levels can be mastered and used effectively. We will explore the technique of empathic listening, and we'll see that the FAA's toolbox of listening skills in the Aviation Instructor's Handbook chapter on communication applies to this technique. Have you ever had a flight student with a serious issue, and when you asked, "What's wrong?" the answer you got was a short and abrupt, "Nothing." Now, you know something was amiss. But how do you get them to open up and discuss it with you? Developing your empathic listening skills is the key here. In Chapter 3, we discover how to start developing these skills. Would you like to discover more about what it means to really communicate with your flight student? The different levels of listening and how to use empathic listening? Join me in exploring these ideas further. At the end of the chapter, challenge yourself with the activities shown there. Find Telling is Not Teaching at Amazon.com.